The wind screamed down Franklin Street like it was chasing someone. Snow whipped sideways, too wet to be pretty, too sharp to ignore. At exactly 10:46 p.m., the steel door of the Hope Mercy Women's Shelter slammed shut with a metallic thud, and just on the other side of it, Bethany Kingsley stood shivering in her ruined suede heels, makeup smeared, red coat clutched like armor. She didn't look like she belonged there, and truth was, she didn't feel like she belonged anywhere. She knocked 3 short raps, hesitant, then louder. Her fingers were blue. Her diamond ring caught the flickering porch light, but no one answered. She banged harder. A buzzer finally crackled overhead. Then a voice. "We're full." Bethany pressed her face to the intercom. "Please, I've got nowhere else, just one night." Silence, then a sigh. The lock buzzed. The door opened. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed as if annoyed to be working this late. A tired woman at the desk looked up from her clipboard. Her name tag read Mara. Her eyes scanned Bethany like a scanner at the airport, every detail registered, judged. "You running from something or someone?" Bethany hesitated. "Yes." Mara nodded slowly. "You're lucky. Someone just didn't show for their bunk. One left." She led her down a narrow hallway with peeling yellow walls and muffled sobs coming from behind curtains. The scent of instant coffee and cold spaghetti lingered. "Your roommate's already in there. Don't start trouble." Bethany stepped into the room and stopped. On the far bunk, in navy scrubs and thick wool socks, sat Vanessa Carter, mid-40s, black, strong arms folded back straight like a soldier's. Her hair was wrapped in a scarf. She was reading something, Bible maybe, but looked up without surprise. They stared at each other. Bethany tried to smile. "Hi." Vanessa's voice was calm, low. "Don't snore." Bethany laughed a little too loudly. "I'm Bethany." "I'm tired." Vanessa went back to reading. Bethany sank onto the edge of the lower bunk. Her coat slid open. Underneath a satin blouse torn at the shoulder, there were red marks on her neck, faint, fresh. Vanessa noticed, but said nothing. For a few minutes, the room was silent but heavy. Then Bethany spoke. "I used to donate to places like this." Vanessa looked up. Her voice was flat. "That's supposed to mean something?" "No, I guess not." The window rattled with another gust of wind. Somewhere a baby cried. Bethany turned her ring. Once, twice. "He shoved me into the table," she said suddenly. "I fell into the wine glasses. That's why it's torn." Vanessa didn't reply. She closed her book. "You pressed charges?" "I ran." "To a shelter, with that coat and that ring?" Bethany took off the ring, slowly, like peeling off skin. "He can track me with it." She dropped it into her purse and zipped it. Vanessa leaned forward. "Why now? Why not a year ago? 2?" Bethany met her eyes. "Because tonight, he almost didn't stop." Silence again. Not cold this time, just real. Vanessa nodded once, slowly. Then she stood, opened the closet, and tossed Bethany a pair of flannel pajamas. "You can borrow these. They're clean." Bethany clutched them to her chest. "Thank you." Vanessa turned off the overhead light. The shadows softened the room, then she lay back down. From the dark came her voice again, softer. I lost my apartment 3 weeks ago. Rent hike. No family left. So don't think for a second I pity you. But I don't hate you either. Just don't lie. Bethany whispered, I won't. Outside, the storm howled. Inside, 2 women lay in a room meant for one, sharing silence and something deeper, the unbearable weight of their different losses. And in the distance, somewhere far from the shelter, a phone buzzed on a marble counter in an empty mansion. Missed call. Bethany. No message. No one coming. At 6:03 a.m., the heater coughed awake like an old smoker. The room had grown colder overnight, and Bethany's fingers curled under the borrowed flannel sleeves. She hadn't slept. Not really. Just drifted in and out between memories and ceiling stains. Vanessa was already up. She stood by the small sink, brushing her teeth in silence, moving with practiced rhythm. Her hospital badge hung limply from her bag, St. Agnes Memorial. R.N.V. Carter. She wore the same scrubs as last night, freshened but faded. Bethany watched from her bunk. Do they serve coffee here? Vanessa didn't turn. Something like it. Bethany sat up. Her head throbbed. Her mascara had formed smoky bruises under her eyes. She looked like a version of herself she'd once judged in magazines. Vanessa glanced over. Bathrooms down the hall. 3rd door. Lock sticks. Bethany nodded, gathered her things, and padded out barefoot. When she returned 10 minutes later, Vanessa was gone. A folded paper sat on the pillow, one line written in clean nurse's handwriting. Dining room, 1st floor, sit left side, right side's loud. Bethany stared at it, then smiled for the first time in 2 days. The dining hall was half empty, plastic chairs, wobbly tables. A woman laughed too hard near the toaster. A baby cried under a fleece blanket, and on the left side, by the window that barely let in light, sat Vanessa, with 2 paper cups and 2 dry slices of toast. Bethany approached. Is that for me? Vanessa shrugged. I'm not a monster. Bethany sat. The coffee was bitter, the toast burnt. She ate like it was warm cake. Across from her, Vanessa broke the silence. So, what did he do for a living? Bethany blinked. Finance, private equity. Vanessa nodded. And you? He used to be in marketing. Quit after we got married. He said we'd travel, then said we'd renovate, then said I was lucky to rest. You have kids? No. A pause. You. Vanessa's lips tightened. Had one? Bethany looked up. Vanessa didn't blink. My son died 3 years ago. Asthma. Ambulance was late. Power was out in our building. I was on a night shift. Bethany's voice cracked. I'm so sorry. Vanessa took a sip. He'd be 17 now. Maybe working somewhere, or getting in trouble. Who knows? They sat in silence for a long moment. Then Bethany spoke. I thought my pain was special. But I walked into this place and saw women who'd lived 100 versions of mine, and I felt embarrassed. Vanessa leaned forward, elbows on the table. Listen, pain doesn't need a discount. It just needs honesty. You don't need to outsuffer anyone here. Just don't pretend your suffering's unique." Bethany nodded, tears silently dripping into the paper cup. Then a voice pierced the room. "Vanessa Carter?" Both women turned. At the doorway stood a tall, tired man in hospital scrubs. His eyes scanned the room. "Emergency shift. They need you at St. Agnes," Dr. Romero asked personally. Vanessa stood. "Tell him I'll be there in 20. Gotta change." The man left. Bethany looked up. "You're going?" "I always go," Vanessa said. "It's the one thing I still own, showing up." She turned to leave, then paused. "You should, too." Bethany frowned. "Should what?" "Find something you show up for. Something that needs you sober, standing and ready." Bethany's voice dropped to a whisper. "I wouldn't even know where to start." Vanessa smiled, just a little. "Start by cleaning the tray." And with that, she walked out, steady, strong, and already halfway gone before Bethany could find the words to say thank you. But as she cleared the tray, Bethany realized something else. For the first time in years, she wanted to try. The shelter emptied slowly after breakfast, like a tide going out. Some women left for jobs, others wandered off with nowhere to be. Bethany stayed in the common room, staring at the chipped linoleum and pretending to read a local newspaper from last week. The headlines blurred. She kept thinking about what Vanessa said. Find something you show up for. Bethany had always shown up to fundraisers, to luncheons, to photos with her husband's clients, but none of it had ever needed her. She touched her purse. The ring was still there, heavy, cold. At 11:30 a.m., she stood abruptly and headed to the bathroom. No one watched. Inside the stall, she unzipped the purse, pulled out the velvet box, and opened it. The diamond inside was flawless. 2 carats, custom cut. Her fingers shook. Then she flushed the toilet as a cover and walked to the small trash bin by the sink. It was full crumpled tissues, a cracked hairbrush, empty deodorant. She stared at it. "Do it," she whispered. She held the box over the bin, but something stopped her. A voice, low, tense, from the hallway. "That's her. I know that's her." Bethany froze. A man's voice, slurred, angry. "I saw her come in last night. I'm not crazy." The bathroom door creaked. Bethany dropped the ring box into the trash and backed into the stall, locking it quietly. Her breath came fast. Outside, heavy boots stomped across the linoleum. "Bethany!" the voice barked. It was him, Marcus. He was here. Downstairs, Vanessa had just returned from her shift, hair damp from the snow. Mara looked up from the front desk. "We told him to leave. He came back drunk." Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "Where?" "Upstairs. Bathroom." Without a word, Vanessa charged up the steps 2 at a time. In the bathroom, Bethany had pulled her knees to her chest atop the toilet lid. The door to the stall shook. "Beth, open the door. You made your point." Silence. "I didn't come to fight. I came to fix this. We can talk. Come on. This is embarrassing." Bethany whispered, barely audible. "Go away." He hit the door hard. Then a second voice rang out sharp, commanding, "Step back." Marcus turned. "Who the hell are—" Vanessa shoved him with both palms. "You heard me." Marcus laughed. "You think you're going to stop me? I think I'm going to call security and the police in 10 seconds. 9, 8. He lunged at her. She didn't flinch. She pulled out a pepper spray canister and clicked it. He froze. Vanessa stared him down. "You've got 2 seconds left." He cursed, stumbled backward, and stormed out. A moment later, the bathroom was quiet. Vanessa stepped forward. "Bethany, it's me." The stall door creaked open. Bethany stood there, pale and shaking. Vanessa looked her over. "Did he touch you?" Bethany shook her head. Then she started to cry, not the silent kind, but the kind that racked her shoulders and left her gasping. Vanessa pulled her in gently, arms solid and warm. "It's over," she whispered. "You're safe." Bethany clutched her tighter. Then, remembering, she pulled back and rushed to the trash bin. The box was gone. She stared in disbelief. Vanessa walked over, reached into her coat pocket, and handed her the velvet box. "I figured you might want this later, whether to keep or to throw it somewhere cleaner." Bethany took it, trembling. Vanessa added, "But next time, don't hide in the bathroom. Come find me." Bethany nodded, eyes wet but clear. "I will." And this time she meant it. The snow had stopped by mid-afternoon, leaving a slush gray sky over the city. Inside the shelter, Bethany sat on her bunk, arms wrapped around her knees, the velvet ring box unopened beside her. She hadn't spoken in over an hour, not since Marcus had been removed by security, shouting threats that got smaller as he was pulled away. Vanessa entered quietly. She had a plastic bag from a pharmacy and a red folder under her arm. "You okay?" Bethany nodded slowly. "I think I ran out of tears." Vanessa sat on the other bunk, placed the folder between them. "Want to see something?" Bethany glanced up. "What is it?" "My life. Well, the version I still carry." She opened the folder. Inside were documents, worn copies of nursing certifications, letters of recommendation, her late son's birth certificate, and one photo, slightly creased, a young boy in a Halloween costume, dressed as a superhero, missing his 2 front teeth. Bethany reached for it gently. He was beautiful. Vanessa smiled without sadness. He was loud, loved chocolate pudding, hated socks. Bethany studied the photo longer than necessary. "I don't have anything like this," she murmured. "Everything I owned stayed in that house. Even the pictures of my mom. He kept them all." Vanessa looked at her for a moment. Then she reached into the pharmacy bag and pulled out a small disposable camera. "They still sell these for $6. If you're going to start over, you might want to document what that looks like." Bethany's voice was hoarse. "Start over where?" Vanessa leaned back against the wall. "Wherever he won't follow, wherever you can sleep with the door unlocked." "I don't have friends anymore, not real ones, not a job, not skills." Vanessa raised an eyebrow. "You managed a house like his? Planned events?" Dealt with his clients and tantrums? Bethany hesitated. I guess. You do have skills. You just forgot how to name them. A long silence passed. Then Bethany reached over and touched the folder again. Can I ask something? Vanessa nodded. Why are you still here? Why not go to a friend, a church, a family member? Vanessa's jaw clenched briefly. Then she answered. I had a sister in Baltimore. She stopped talking to me after I put Malik in public school instead of private. Said I was wasting his future. I never forgave her. She never forgave me. Now she's gone. Bethany looked down. And friends? They disappeared after the funeral. People don't know what to say to a grieving mom, so they say nothing. I stayed quiet too long, and the silence became permanent. Bethany whispered, I'm sorry. Vanessa waved it off. Wasn't fishing, just telling you sometimes it's not just you that ends up alone. Happens to all kinds of women. She stood and stretched, then handed Bethany the folder. Keep it for tonight. Read it. Maybe it'll remind you that you're not the only one rebuilding from splinters. Bethany held the folder close. Thank you for everything. Vanessa paused in the doorway. I'll be gone by sunrise again, but I'll be back by dinner. Bethany smiled faintly. I'll be here. Vanessa nodded once and disappeared into the hallway. Bethany sat alone in the dim room, the folder warm in her lap. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like a broken wife or a polished accessory someone used to parade around a room. She felt like a woman. Still scared, still shaking. But waking up. The shelter was quieter at night. Not silent, never truly silent, but softer, somehow, like the city had exhaled. Bethany lay awake, staring at the ceiling above the top bunk, Vanessa's steady breathing above her like a metronome. She had read the entire red folder twice, the letters, the licenses, the photo, but what stayed with her wasn't what was in it. It was the fact that Vanessa had shared it, trusted her with it. At 2:17 a.m., Bethany sat up slowly and reached for her purse. She took out the velvet box again, not to wear it, not to toss it, just to look. Inside, the ring still sparkled, cold, empty. She left the box open on the floor and lay back down. By morning, Vanessa was gone again, but the red folder remained neatly stacked on the desk. Bethany felt something shift. She washed her hair, put on a clean sweater from the shelter closet, ate toast, and actually tasted it. Then, clutching the camera Vanessa had given her, she walked out for the first time in daylight. The cold air slapped her cheeks pink, but it didn't push her back. She walked 4 blocks, then another, past the coffee shop she and Marcus used to go to, past the high-end salon where they once fought over her haircut, past the lawyer's office she'd never dared enter, and stopped. It was a small storefront. Faded letters above the glass read, St. Michael's Community Center, GED, resumes, job help. Bethany hesitated. Her hands trembled, but she opened the door. Inside, a young woman with short braids and big glasses smiled from behind a folding table. Hi there. You here for the workshop? Bethany blinked. Maybe. You got a resume? She laughed nervously. Not since 2011. No worries. That's what we're here for. The woman handed her a clipboard. Bethany filled in her name, Bethany Kingsley, then paused. Something about the last name made her stomach twist. Can I not use that name? The woman smiled kindly. You can use whatever you need to feel like yourself again. Bethany nodded. She crossed out Kingsley, wrote Bethany Moore. That evening, Vanessa returned to the room to find Bethany sitting at the desk, scribbling something with focus. Where'd you go? Vanessa asked, pulling off her coat. Bethany looked up. Community center. I registered for a workshop. They're helping me build a resume. Vanessa grinned, pleased but casual. That's something. Bethany stood and held up a small slip of paper. And I signed up to volunteer 2 mornings a week, just to greet people. Said I had a nice smile. Vanessa chuckled. Flattery and purpose, good combo. Bethany hesitated. I used a different name. Moore. It was my mom's. Vanessa nodded slowly. Clean break. Bethany took a deep breath. I left the ring in the velvet box, but I replaced what was inside. Vanessa tilted her head. With what? Bethany opened a purse and pulled out a tiny key brass, simple, probably from a lockbox or old drawer. It opens nothing important, but I like the feeling of putting something inside that opens. Vanessa looked at her for a long, thoughtful moment. Then she smiled, not politely, not distantly, but warmly, like 2 women who had found, in the wreckage of their own lives, something neither expected to carry, each other. It had been 6 days since Marcus showed up. 4 since Bethany walked into the community center. 2 since she mailed a handwritten letter to her estranged sister in Portland. No return address. Just a folded apology inside. Now, on a cloudy Wednesday afternoon, she stood in line at the community printer, clutching a copy of her newly built resume. On it, for the first time in years, her own name, Bethany Moore. Behind her, a teenager with earbuds tapped her shoulder. You dropped this? Bethany turned. It was a photo printed from the shelter's shared camera. She'd forgotten she had sent it to print. In the picture, Vanessa and her sitting on their bunks, laughing over a cup of vending machine coffee. It wasn't posed. Someone else had snapped it through the doorway. She stared at it. The moment felt warmer than it had been in real time. That evening, Bethany waited for Vanessa outside the shelter, wrapped in a donated coat. The snow had returned, gentler now, like dust from the sky. When Vanessa appeared, shoulders stiff from 12 hours on her feet, Bethany fell into step beside her. Long day? Vanessa grunted. One guy coded in the lobby. Another cursed me out for giving him the wrong blanket. Bethany smiled. Want me to start carrying hot chocolate in my purse? Vanessa glanced sideways. That's dangerously close to being sweet. Bethany laughed, then stopped. I found a room. Vanessa paused mid-step. A room? A real one. Community housing near Broadview, shared kitchen, month to month, clean and cheap. Vanessa's face stayed unreadable. You taking it? Bethany nodded slowly. Tomorrow. I paid the deposit this morning. A pause. I didn't want to just leave without telling you. Vanessa took a breath. You're not leaving. You're moving forward. There's a difference. Bethany's voice dropped. I was afraid you'd think I was giving up. Vanessa shook her head. Giving up looks different. I've seen it. In eyes that don't lift anymore. In hands that don't shake when they should. They walked in silence for a few steps. Then Vanessa added, Besides, you're coming back next week to help with the blood drive. You signed up, remember? Bethany's eyes widened. Wait, you checked? I run the board on Thursdays. Bethany laughed. Of course you do. They reached the shelter door. Vanessa paused. Beth. She turned. You're not like you were when you walked in. Bethany's smile faded into something steadier. No, I'm not like that anymore. Vanessa reached into her coat and pulled out a folded piece of paper. I got a call today. St. Agnes wants me full-time again, new housing voucher included. Bethany's eyes lit up. That's amazing. Vanessa nodded. Might even get a place with a bathtub. Malik loved baths. Bethany reached out and took her hand. Then I hope it's the biggest bathtub in the city. The two women stood there for a moment in the doorway where their stories had collided and held onto something neither had named. Not friendship, not gratitude. Something deeper, something stitched from survival. Bethany packed before sunrise. There wasn't much to fold 2 sweaters, a thrifted pair of jeans, the shelter's donated coat. Everything else fit into a single canvas tote. She stared at the empty bunk one last time, then knelt and pulled out the velvet box she'd kept tucked under the bed. Inside still lay the brass key. Nothing had changed, and everything had. She held it for a second, then slipped it into her pocket. A knock on the open door startled her. Vanessa leaned against the frame with a coffee cup in one hand and a large cardboard box in the other. Got something for you. Bethany raised an eyebrow. You already gave me pajamas and emotional clarity. That's a lot. Vanessa smirked. This one's more practical. She placed the box on the desk. Inside was small things, a second-hand mug, a grocery store gift card, a set of travel-sized toiletries, and taped to the side a Post-it with neat handwriting. For Bethany Moore, because names don't make us, choices do. Bethany stared at it. You really made a welcome kit? Standard discharge package, Vanessa said with mock seriousness. I've seen the hospital do it. Figured shelters could steal the idea. Bethany laughed, then went quiet. She walked to the window where a pink stripe of morning lit the rooftops. Will it always feel this fragile? She asked quietly. Vanessa didn't move. Probably. But you'll get stronger, and your life won't just be lighter. It'll make more sense. Bethany turned. And you? Vanessa gave a half shrug. I got offered a spot on a tenant lottery for nurse housing. 2-bedroom. I'm thinking of applying. Bethany tilted her head. 2-bedroom? Vanessa met her gaze evenly. For me, and maybe a foster license later, when I'm ready. Bethany stepped forward and wrapped her arms around her. It wasn't a tight hug. It didn't need to be. just real. Vanessa whispered, "Don't lose that key, even if it opens nothing." Bethany pulled back with a soft smile. It opened something now. She picked up her bag, slung the strap over her shoulder, and walked to the hallway. At the door, she looked back one last time. "Thank you for saving me." Vanessa replied without blinking, "You saved yourself. I just happened to be in the room." Bethany stepped into the light of her new day, the key warm in her hand, her name still strange, hers again. The shelter door closed behind her, but not all doors lock. Some just wait for someone brave enough to open them. 6 months later, the snow returned. Not harsh this time, soft, lazy flakes, drifting like forgotten memories. Inside the newly painted hallway of St. Michael's Community Center, 24 names now filled a mural titled Second Chances, each hand-painted in white on a slate-blue wall. Volunteers, staff, survivors. At the bottom corner, in the smallest script, someone had written, "Bethany Moore Greeter, resume mentor, lemon cake extraordinaire." And just beneath that, V. Carter RN, shelter advocate, laughs at terrible jokes. On Saturday mornings, Bethany now ran the front desk for the GED program. She arrived early, made coffee too strong, greeted everyone like they were expected. She had even learned to fix the jammed copier twice. Sometimes, after her shift, she visited a quiet block near Broadview where the windows rattled and the heat clicked. Her room wasn't big, but it was hers. On her dresser sat the velvet box still holding the brass key, and beside it, taped to the mirror, the post-it note Vanessa had once given her. One morning, she received a letter with no return address. Inside, a photograph of a bathtub full of bubbles, a rubber duck floating at the edge. No words. Bethany smiled. She pulled out her phone and texted the only number she knew by heart. "He would have loved it. I'll visit soon." No reply came, but she didn't need one. Because she knew somewhere across the city another woman stood with her shoulders square and her heart still beating, having made space not just for herself but for what might come next. And between them, even now, a door stayed open. Not to a room, but to something more permanent. Home. Have you ever met someone in an unexpected place who changed your life or helped you change your own? Tell us in the comments. Your story matters.